Facebook, and Spectrum Channel 180 for public viewing. If you wish to participate in the conference, please provide your name, phone number, Zoom user ID, and the case you wish to speak on. Please list if you wish to speak in favor or in opposition of a case. A total of 10 minutes will be allowed for anyone wishing to speak in favor of a case and 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition, beginning with the applicant. For example, if 10 people wish to speak, they will all share in that 10 minutes. We will now hear the invocation and pledge. Heavenly Father, we come before you thanking you for this evening. We thank you for all your blessings. We ask that you be with us with this meeting, guide us, lead us in the right direction. These things we ask in Jesus' name, amen. We will now hear the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is now called to order. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Also, can I get a motion to accept the August 13th, 2020 minutes?
I make the motion that we accept the August 13, 2020 minutes.
Here, a second.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Staff, do we have any announcements?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say that our next Zoning Advisory Board meeting will be on October the 8th, and that meeting is scheduled to be an in-person meeting for the first time in a little while.
Okay, and that's on, give me those dates again.
October 8th.
October 8th, thank you. Okay. If there's no additional comments or announcements, we would like to call the first case, please.
Under conditional use, CU 2002, Global Impact Christian Ministries of Stockbridge, Georgia, requests a conditional use for property located at 548 Thurman Road in land lot 158, the 12th district. The property consists of 53.098 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a place of worship in District 5. The report is presented by Kenta Lanham, Planner 2.
Can everyone see the PowerPoint presentation on the screen?
We can as of now, Cantor.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, Chair and board members.
Good evening.
The conditional use request in front of you is for property located at 548 Thurman Road, as highlighted in your exhibit books, as well as on the screen. The property is currently zoned RA, residential agricultural, and is 53.098 plus or minus acres. The applicant is requesting a conditional use to allow for a church facility at this property. Chapter 4, Section 40314E of the Unified Land Development Code describes the standards for religious facilities and the accessory uses allowed. As per that section, Churches and other religious facilities are permitted in the RA zoning district with an approved conditional use. There are currently 4 structures on the property indicated at my mouse. I believe it is the applicant's intent to eventually utilize all of these existing structures for accessory uses, one of which was specifically mentioned to be used for an office for the church facility. Staff has evaluated the request and several aspects of the site, including, but not limited to, the current zoning of the property and surrounding properties, the size of the property, and the future land use map designation. Given the criteria for conditional uses and the characteristics of the request, there is a reasonable basis for granting the conditional use request to allow for a church facility at the subject property. As such, staff recommends approval of the request with 4 conditions. Those conditions are displayed now on the screen. Thank you, and I will answer any questions that you may have.
Ms. King, will you lead in this?
Sure.
Case?
Yeah, sure. Does the board have any questions for staff or Kenta right now?
Yes, Kenta, I have one question. At what point is a decel or acceleration lane actually required?
That is an excellent question. I believe the traffic study will mention if a accel or decel lane is required.
Okay. And at what point will we be doing the traffic study? Is that prior to permitting?
It is required by the ULDC.
Okay. So prior to any permits, they will be doing a traffic study.
Correct, yes.
Okay. I believe that's all I have, and I believe in the request it was for 37,000 square feet.
Yes, that was what was indicated in the site plan that was submitted.
Okay. All right. I guess the rest of my question will be for the applicant. Thank you.
Okay. All righty, thank you. Any other board members have any questions for staff or Kenta? All right, none. If not, then we'll move along and ask the applicant to please check in with provide your name and your address.
Hello, my name is Spencer O'Neill. My address is 170 Meredith Way, Stockbridge, Georgia, and I'm the lead pastor of Global Impact Christian Ministries.
Sure, and what would you like to tell us about your request tonight?
Well, first of all, thank you for considering our request tonight, and we're excited about the opportunity to continue to expand our ministry and to continue to promote the gospel of Jesus Christ. We've been in the Henry County community for 11 years now. We are currently located at 125 Red Oak Road, Stockbridge, Georgia. We're right there in the north part of the county. We've been serving in that area, that Red Oak district, for 11 years. We've made many community partnerships, schools, Hands-On Henry, all types of organizations that we've been able to help and partner with, which is one of our major goals. We believe that the mark of a true church is the influence that it has in the community. In that community that we're in now, our influence and our impact is known. So we are growing where we are, and we did not have enough room to expand a new campus right there where we were. So we saw this particular spot. It's still in Stockbridge. It's still in the North Henry area. And there are several schools in that community that we can offer partnerships with and serve. So we're excited about that opportunity. And if given the opportunity to come in, we believe that we will add value to that community. We believe in serving. Our motto is simply, we get to serve. So we believe that we are the hands and legs of Jesus Christ, and he's placing us in this community. I believe it is my prayer that we will be there to serve and add value in a multiplicity of ways. With the main campus, 37,000 square feet, we want to serve student ministries. We want to serve our seniors. We want to serve all of those that have specific needs in that area. And we want to reach out to the community and find out the different ways that we can partner with them and to make ourselves more available to the community that we serve. We understand tonight that probably one of the bigger issues is going to be traffic. Right now at the present location that we're in, we hire Henry County Police Department to come in and help us with traffic at the Red Oak location. We would do the same thing if we're granted permission to come here. So tonight, just thank you. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
All right. Does the board have any questions for Pastor O'Neill?
Yes, I have a question for Pastor O'Neill. I noticed that on the plans, on the request, there's 3 structures on that property as of now. What's the plans with those?
The front house that sits facing Thurman Road, that will be used. It's in good enough condition for us to convert it and match it to the new structure. And that will be our volunteer center, admin's office space area. The second building behind it, we will also match it up and make it a storage facility for any equipment that we may need, sound tech, lawn, anything that we may need on the property. We will match it up to make sure that that's a storage facility. The barn that's out in the middle of the field, it is our hope that we can connect that and make that some type of outdoor rec area. So if we're doing the family fellowship or a function, then we can convert it to some green space, and maybe that can work for us in that particular area. So we're gonna evaluate everything that's there and try to make good use of what's there.
Okay. Now, the properties that's there, you are aware that in some cases they may need to come up to code or meet the requirements depending on what you want to do to them. So I guess basically, are you prepared to do so? And what's the time frame are we looking at?
Now, the time frame is, of course, we all in this pandemic that we're in. Our first thing is to take care of this part of it, get the conditional use permit. We'll move to closing, and then we'll begin to work. Our builder is on tonight, Stillco. We'll begin to work with them on the development of that. And of course, if there's any codes that we got to come up to code with, we evaluate those from a budgetary perspective. If it's not feasible to use those buildings, then I guess the other option would be not to use them at all and just do a demolition on them. So we'll take that into consideration.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Pastor O'Neill? Board members? All right, there are none. We'll move along then and give an opportunity for anyone who would like to speak in favor of this case tonight. Anyone who would like to speak in favor of this case? I don't know if Karis is on or not, if she's got anyone lined up to speak tonight.
I don't think Karis is with us, but
okay.
I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Brittany Williams, planning staff, was trying to speak, but it didn't seem like sound was coming through.
Okay.
Just hold it. Brittany has stated that there's no one wanting to speak in support for the case.
Okay, we'll move along then and see if there's anyone who would like to speak in opposition of this request. If anyone is signed up to do that.
Yes, we had one person wanting to speak in opposition, I believe Mark Engelert. I apologize if I mispronounced your last name, but it looks like he's unmuted and present.
Okay, if you would just state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Mark Engelert, 85 Lakeview Lane, Stockbridge, Georgia.
And you can go ahead, Mark.
My opposition is twofold. One is under criteria point 1. We know that the minor arterial collector street has a potential to generate increased traffic congestion. Looking at that street and living around this area here, from Gardner to Thurman, that Attila Road is an artery to 2 different main arteries out of subdivisions. We have right now, we have 1,000 140 homes within this 1 mile area, and 8 of them are out of subdivisions. The Thurman Road is a major artery coming out of Stockbridge and coming off of Fairview. Thurman Road is a cut through and come out of Stockbridge and then back up to Fairview. The county has just put in a new art center up there to generate traffic. Gardner Road, which parallels Thurman, runs down into Fairview. Because there's no traffic light there, a lot of people do not go down that. They go back around Patilla Road and then run out to Thurman and take the stop or the red light that's up at the Chevron station at Fairview, or cross over to Rex to get to where they need to go, or south down to East Atlanta. Where the proposed church entrance is, that on this picture that they have there, the drawing, the concept only is 400 meters. The only thing that does to reduce traffic is reduce traffic coming out of the church going on to Thurman. It doesn't do anything for reducing traffic of parishioners going from Thurman either north or south to go on to Patilla Road. That is a big bottleneck there. Right now, the traffic studies that I found that we have are from back in 1989, or excuse me, not 89, back in 2009. And in 2009, East Atlanta was showing 6,890 vehicles. Thurman was showing 3,596 vehicles, and Gardner was showing 620 vehicles, and that was only in a 5-day period, according to Georgia DDOT. So the actual coronavirus right now, the traffic pattern is nothing what it would be expected, because there's no buses going on, there's no school teachers, kids are at home, so parents aren't taking them. You look at the number of houses, and you look at possibly 2 cars shuffling back and forth. It's just, the congestion here is really going to be bad, and I don't think we thought that all the way through. My second point is, as Pastor O'Neill has said, he wants to turn around and grow the community. Right now, his church is 8,300 square feet, and he's outgrown that. How many parishioners is that? So if he has a 37,000 square foot building, how many parishioners are he planning to expand to? Because if you turn around and say that he has 400 parishioners because he has three church ceremonies on Sunday, or 3 church services on Sunday, turn around and take that just number, 3.5 is what the size difference is. How much extra traffic is that actually going to cause in there? The other thing is he says that the services are only going to be on the Sunday and the Wednesday. He has a Wednesday night. But if he's doing all these other activities with churches or with schools and community centers, then he's going to be drawing more traffic in, and it's not going to be just a 2 days a week type operation. That is my concern. My last concern is that property currently is under a conservatory, as it is, because it's farm. That's what it is. Henry County, we just built a new facility for the art. Why don't we turn around and say, hey, let's make some of this green space? Because we don't have any green space, we're just taking it away. My final point is, if along the road, along Patilla Road and Thurman Road, you can have a 75-foot easement, why doesn't the residents that have been there before this new building being in, this new structure, why don't we have that same 75 protection as opposed to 40? My backyard at 85 Lakeview Lane looks back into the field, and if you look at that field, if there's a baseball field, which by the regulations, he's able to build baseball fields, basketball, outdoor events. He talked about lights and stuff. Is this going to be outdoor music and stuff? It's a very wide thing and what his actual community program is. My final question is, out of the 37,000 square feet building, what is the inside structure going to be? Is it going to be a huge kitchen? Is it going to be a place for dorm rooms or spaces? Is it just going to be all for a chapel? That's all I have. Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that signed up tonight to speak in opposition to this request?
Ms. King, I do not
Yeah.
believe anyone has signed up to speak in opposition. Anyone else?
Okay. Okay, thank you, Kenta. All right, we'll circle back around then and ask see if the board has any additional questions for either staff or the applicant.
Yes, I have a question. And I realize from the report that this is planned to be a 37,000 square foot facility, and I think that's probably at the maximum growth. But what pastor do you foresee as the estimated maximum seating capacity within the church, within the sanctuary area of the church?
The sanctuary seating capacity will fall somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 seats. Classrooms to house all the way from pre-K, all the way to high school. Middle school students, we want to have classrooms, worship areas for them as well. Also, room for training. One of the things we do is open up our facility to any civic organizations, any Masonic organizations, anybody that may need to meet in our particular space. We do that free of charge. We've been doing that for years. So we partnerships. When I talk about having things in the community, I'm talking about things that just adds value to what the community already has going on. When it comes to major traffic, I will grant you that on Sundays, you will see some traffic on Sundays. And right now, one of the reasons we want to move is we could possibly go from 3 services in Stockbridge and go just 1 service in this particular location.
Okay. And also, do you contemplate having any athletic facilities? And if so, would they be lighted?
No, I have no plans of having a school or a daycare center or anything like that. Don't want to get into that right now. I figure there are better ways for me to partner with some of the stuff that's already in the community.
Okay, that's all the questions I had for now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Risher. Any other questions for questions? Any other questions for the applicant or staff?
I have another question for Pastor Spencer. Now, I noticed one of staff requirements that you maintain a buffer. Now, are you prepared and do you understand where you are with that buffer? And just out of, I know there's a requirement for it, but I would like for you to consider even extending that buffer or maintaining as much natural buffer as possible.
Mr. Delander, I'm gonna let my building firm answer that question for you. Keith or Paul, one of y'all jump.
Good evening to everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Good evening. I'm Paul Gorley with Steelco Buildings. This is my designer, Keith Black, and we have been working with Global Impact. We are presently working with Henry County in several facets. We're presently working on the coroner's office, and also we just received a CO in the city of Stockbridge for an international project. So we are a design build firm, and we service the customer, and we presently have several church projects underway. And we fully understand from a civil aspect, buffers, setbacks. We have been working with the team to develop this sanctuary footprint. And yes, it is a concept. I would like to add to some of the content that was expressed by Mr. Mark Engler, that this particular road, Patillo, is classified as a collector. There is a specific as far as arterial road, and I want to be very specific as far as like the content of sidewalks, the elements that are added to aid the community. And we have spoken with the pastor and the team on several levels of emergency response, community blood drive possibilities, in the event of another pandemic, a possible pandemic or storm evacuation location. So to have a structure that can house or dedicate itself to serving the community, it does lend itself to multiple of uses and assets. But as far as the structure, we are a full service design build general contracting firm. And we have several churches that we have completed.
Right. I understand. I do believe the traffic study will cover the conditions of the roadway. My concern and my question was maintaining a natural buffer or maintaining undisturbed areas as much as possible.
Absolutely. Our civil engineer is on board. We reference, of course, his letterhead is everything is on the concept. He is a Henry County resident engineer, very familiar with the area.
And we are fully aware of the buffers. If you notice, intersection of Patillo and Thurman, we're locating that building at that intersection. Obviously standing off of there, the right setbacks, but the buffers to the residential areas, we're not getting anywhere near those, especially on the first site that we're working on, but there's going to be plenty of room for natural buffer. As a matter of fact, that back corner towards Lakeview Lane actually has a small creek and a separator there that we can't touch anyway. So yes, we're fully aware of the buffers.
Okay. All right. That's all I have, Chair.
All righty. Any other questions for either the applicant or staff?
No.
Any
Yes, one
discuss-
more
yes.
question.
Mr. Risher. I see,
right,
Mr. Beam.
I see from the aerial photographs that that there are some substantial, fairly heavily wooded areas, especially where it abuts the Lakeview Lane subdivision, and also I think Brinley Park to the north. Would you consider incorporating those wooded areas into the buffer for say at least 100 feet of natural buffer? And then also, do you plan to access onto both Patillo Road and Thurman Road?
No, sir. We really don't want to tap into Thurman Road. Obviously, there's a line of sight distance there issue with the curve, plus the speed limit being at 45, even though y'all have a 30-mile-an-hour caution sign at that intersection. We primarily want to get on and off at Patillo Road, so to make that part of the congestion a lot lighter. Yes, definitely on the buffers. Those trees are already there. I believe the buffer per ordinance is listed on the civil drawing. And I believe back there in the back, it's actually showing 20, but we'll definitely exceed that. And we'll discuss with them. We already have our buffers shown on that sheet. I didn't have a page number, but it's in that packet.
It's page number 8.
And I asked earlier also if you contemplated some athletic facilities, and if so, would they be lighted for any kind of nighttime activity? And I'm sure that you're aware that Henry County does have an outdoor lighting ordinance.
Yes, sir. And I believe the pastor expressed a little while ago that he's not looking towards any athletic facilities on the property.
That is correct. Not at this time. No athletic facilities.
All right, thanks for clarifying that for me.
Yes, sir.
Right. Mr. Beam, did you have a question?
Yeah. With the remainder of the land that's untouched, is there a future vision for that, Pastor?
One of the things we're strongly considering once again, we're community-based. I think since this used to be a farm, I think it would be great to try to do some type of community farming initiative, possibly. You know, that's something that we would consider. I think would be a benefit to the community, especially with some of the food shortages that we previously had. So if we can hold on to 10 acres and make it available to the community, hey, come over here and let's get some seed in the ground. So that's one of the things I have a strong vision for.
Okay. And next question would be, you say right now that you use the police when you have services to control traffic. What time frame do you have the police?
We have the police show up. Our first service is at 8:09. They get there at 7 o'clock for prep. It's good for two purposes. A police car cuts down any kind of attacks or threats against the church. So for security purposes, just having them on the property. But at the front of the entrance, they've got all of the traffic in and they're there from 7 to 1 o'clock. Whenever we have large events at the church in the past, we've upped the ante. We've hired as many 2 to 3 police officers to be there with us. One of the biggest events we had was in 2018, Shacksgiving. Shaquille O'Neal hosted 500 to 600 people on that day, and we fed them all dinner. And the traffic flow was a smooth transition to the county police department.
When they're doing traffic control in this setting, would they be just at Patello Road? Would they be down at the intersections? What do you envision? Oop, you're on mute.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
At this particular campus, I anticipate that we may need 2 police officers, one at the main entrance and then one back up toward the Thurman and Patillo Road intersection to help safeguard that area as well.
Okay, that's my questions.
Any other questions for either the applicant or staff?
No.
Any discussion?
No.
Ms. King,
Sounds like-
if
Yes,
staff can be recognized.
sure. Go ahead, Kenta.
I want to retract one of my previous statements about the traffic impact study. A traffic impact study actually will not be required until it is expected that the development will create 750 new trips in an average day, or involves the construction of a 50,000 square foot or greater non-residential building space. And that is determined by the Department of Transportation if that traffic impact study would be required. And that's part of the reason why Condition 1 is in place to kind of mitigate traffic concerns for developments that do not require a traffic impact study.
All right, so who would alert the DOT to come out and do that study then? If it's not necessary currently, it would be in the future?
That would be part of the development phase. Department of Transportation may find it necessary to have a traffic impact study for this development. And if it pleases the board, the board can certainly have that as a condition to require that traffic impact study.
Delandra, did you have any other questions about that, concerns?
No, I think we're clear in terms of where we are with it. And based on what you're saying, Cantor, if it exceeded the 37,000 square feet and went up to 50, the traffic study would be required, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And if it's expected to increase the number of average daily trips by 750 trips or more.
And that's per day based on an average?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yes.
I have one more question.
Yes, Mr. Risher?
And I guess this would be towards the pastor. At what point do you plan to submit the the new construction plans for the 37,000 square foot facility, to the county building department. Is that something that's going to be done in the next year or 6 months?
I would say sometime within the next year, we should be moving forward. Of course, after we get the conditional use, we have to close on the property. Then I got to go and finish up the drawings and plans with Stilco. And I would say from 6 months to a year.
All right. Would a traffic impact study, would that accompany the submittal of those plans as well? Even though it's below the threshold of 50,000.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be approaching nowhere near a 50,000 square foot facility. 37,000 is, considering budget all, I'm sure it won't be any bigger than that.
I guess I'm asking is when you submit the construction plans for the new building, would you also submit traffic information as to trips that would be generated in and out, primarily for services? Would that information be available from your engineers or architects for the county staff to review?
Mr. Richard, that would only be by the request or performed by planning and zoning development with DOT. That's information that they collect for Henry County.
I'm asking the question again, is that would that information be submitted along with the building construction plans?
If it's required, it would be.
Only if required. But at the present, even the very foremost plan does not even come near 50,000 square feet. So it doesn't require.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Mr. Risher, you good on that, or?
Yes, well, I guess this is a question for staff. Is that something that we could ask to be submitted? And I realize it's a 37,000 square foot facility, but that could change. Is that something that would be appropriate as a condition, or would it not?
If it pleases the board, that can certainly be one of the conditions.
Okay, all right, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Risher. Any other discussion on this case?
No.
I think we're good then. All right, let's call the case, please.
Okay. Under conditional use, CU 2002, Global Impact Christian Ministries of Stockbridge, Georgia, requests a conditional use for the property located at 548 Thurman Road in land lot 158 of the 12th district. The property consists of 50.098 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a place of worship in District 5.
The case has been called. Do I have a motion?
Yes,
Madam Chair, I'd like to make, excuse me, Mr. Rich.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we go with staff recommendation to approve the conditional use with the conditions outlined in staff recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Peterson.
And 1, 2. I'm trying to count here, switch screens. Looks like we have enough. The motion carries. Any opposed? Nope. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we can call the next case, please.
Under modifications to zoning conditions, MC 2003, Iris Lake Henry 888 LLC of Peachtree Corners, Georgia, requests a modification to zoning conditions for property located at 1209 Iris Lake Road and land lots 233, 234, and 247 of the 7th District, consisting of 141.483 plus or minus acres. The request is to allow for additional uses in District 1, and the report is presented by Stacy Jordan Rudisil, Chief Planner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so the case before you tonight actually came in for a conditional use on September the 17th of 2019. And it received conditional use approval for outdoor amusement. The subject property has frontage on Iris Lake Road, and the entire subject property also has frontage on Rabbit Run and also on Cohen. The property is zoned RA. Future land use map calls for a medium density residential. The applicant's request is for 64 acres of the subject property, comprising the frontage of Iris Lake Road. And this portion of the subject property also includes a 22-acre lake. The evaluation of the applicant's request was for a campground. Condition number 13 of the existing conditional use is illustrated for your reference. It basically says that any overnight accommodations would only be permitted as ancillary uses to the use of the subject property for outdoor amusements. And that is not the applicant's request. So having advised the applicant is requesting for relief from this requirement, namely that the entire conditional use be rescinded because the applicant has no intention of developing the subject property for outdoor amusements, but rather for a campground, which is otherwise regulated by the county's Unified Land Development Code, namely section 4.03.17. Having evaluated the applicant's request, staff is recommending denial of actually rescinding the entire conditional use, but rather we do recommend a clarification of condition 13, making a differentiation between those guest accommodations that would be ancillary to the future development of the subject property, if at all, for outdoor amusements, as opposed to the development of the subject property as a campground with overnight accommodations as a principal use. And in making this recommendation, we are recommending 6 sub-conditions for condition number 13, which are in your exhibit books and also illustrated on the screen. These sub-conditions are intended to clarify what will be required of the applicant to develop as a campground in conformity with section 4.03.17. And I'd be pleased to answer questions.
Thank you, Stacy. Does the board have questions for staff?
Yes, I have a question for staff on the I suppose that the request to rescind all these previous conditions, number 15, I think refers to the, I guess basically to hold Henry County harmless if the dam were to break and breach into downstream areas, primarily this property. Since that is a county road that sits on top of that dam, Iris Lake Road, but would the staff recommendation to deny the original a request, I guess, would that still still retain the dam breach condition?
Yes, sir, Mr. Risher, it would. So staff's recommendation is for denial of the request to rescind the conditional use altogether. So that
Okay.
condition 15 would remain in effect in the case that the property is developed for outdoor amusements. But also, if I could direct your attention to the staff's recommendation of condition 13B, we will require a master campground plan, which would show compliance with the section 4.03.17. And that master campground plan would need to show the breach zone and that there would be no development within that breach zone.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I have a question for Stacy. Does anyone else have questions for staff? Okay, Stacy, I have one quick question is, would it have been easier to just ask for a conditional use to allow additional campgrounds or additional units on that campground?
Yes, sir. It definitely would, but because it's the conditional use for the outdoor amusements and specifically the wording for condition 13 that was proving to be a roadblock for staff approval, the applicant was advised that that needed to be addressed. So that this is how we got to where we are today to address this condition 13 for the conditional use for outdoor amusements.
Okay.
Otherwise, Mr. Chair, the use as a campground is permitted as long as it's in compliance with the ULDC in section 4.03.17.
Okay. Now, your recommendation is to disapprove it based on disapprove the overall conditional use, but accept the amendments to 13.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. So our recommendation is that we don't rescind the conditional use for outdoor amusements. We've noted that the subject property is 141 acres and the area for the for the campground is only 64 acres. And it was just approved a year ago.
I think I remember.
And so there didn't seem to be any utility in rescinding the entire conditional use.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any additional questions for staff? Okay. If there's no additional question, we'd like the applicant to come forward and please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members and staff. My name is Mitch Falk. I reside at 2864 Peaksville Road, Locust Grove, Georgia. I work with Land Engineering and I'm representing the applicant as their engineering and planner. So I want to kind of give you a history that you're somewhat familiar with the zip lines. After the applicant got the approval initially with the 20-something conditions. For the zip lines, they started looking at the cottages and how they were going to do that aspect of the development. In doing so, they got in touch with a couple named Nathan and Rebecca Self, who are in attendance tonight. Nathan and Rebecca were not part of the original vision that resulted in the zip line conditional use, nor the plan and all of that stuff. So after bringing Nathan and Rebecca in to the mix here and learning about what they do, and they've founded Georgia Glamping, and they've been very successful in promoting and developing glamping sites elsewhere. Glamping is termed glamping is glamorous camping. And I'm a resident. I go down Irish Lake Road every day. I don't want something as a campsite in our community like a lot of people. But after learning about what Georgia Glamping is all about and the products that they build and provide to the community, along with the activities and the overall aspect of what they do, is pretty phenomenal. So we were, myself included, the other partners were just really excited to bring them in. And that really just changed the whole vision. And we backed up and took a fresh look at the whole situation and said, we really don't want to do the zip lines. We're kind of going in the wrong direction there. So I'd love to take the opportunity to let Nathan and Rebecca sort of share their vision with you all and sort of, if you'll allow me to, and let them talk a little bit about what they're doing with Georgia Glamping. And we also have a few slides that we can show you some photos of the product and what we expect it to look like, and they can talk about those in further detail if that's okay.
That's fine. Keep in mind, this is part of your 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor or against. So you guys have 10 minutes to do so, including the time that you've used.
Okay.
Hey, yeah. So I'm Nathan, and this is Rebecca. We're really excited to be here tonight.
Okay.
When we were brought in.
State your address for the record, please.
Yes. So we live at 8210 Dogwood Trail in Cumming, Georgia, is our permanent residence. When we were brought into the project, we had already developed a company, Georgia Glamping Company. We've partnered with Forsyth County here in Cumming, Georgia, and we have a great relationship with the county. And we've grown to a point where it was time to expand. We welcome in at our Forsyth County we welcome in about 100 families a month, between 100 and 150 families a month, to enjoy glamping. It was an idea that Rebecca had when we were coming back from a road trip, and like, how do we get our families out away from technology, back into nature, and enjoy being outside and away from the screens. And yeah.
So one thing we found is that there's usually, in every family, there's usually one person that really loves camping and the outdoors, and there's one person who wants to be in the outdoors but prefers more of a hotel. Yeah. So we found that in our family, and we've actually found in most of our guest families that's the case. So this is kind of a nice compromise. It is the traditional camping experience outside, but inside our accommodations, they do have a real bed, a real mattress. There's a coffee maker, a mini fridge. So there's little amenities that make it more like a hotel inside the accommodation.
That's correct. Yeah. And so we found that it's a really good place for families and friends to go and be outside and be safe, especially in this climate and the pandemic climate. We've seen occupancy at our 7 sites in Forsyth County booked out at 100%, both nights, weeknights, weekends, 100%. Every single unit has been booked out since May 1st. We really feel like Henry County is prime for it. We have a very strong social media account that we've worked hard to build. And when putting the feelers out about coming to Henry County, we've had an overwhelming response of please come. And what we do is, we want to partner with the local community, both like all the restaurants, everybody else in the local community, do community outreach there on property as well. That's what we do here in Forsyth County, and we really feel like it'd be a value add to Henry County as well.
And so on the screen, you're just seeing kind of some of the accommodations that we are hoping to have in Henry County. Some of these, this one that you're seeing right now is actually called a cabin. So it's the best parts of a tent mixed with a cabin. So it does have canvas walls like a tent, but certain elements are more like a cabin. And then we do have some geodesic domes, and this is our Tabin duo here. So it's basically putting two cabins together so you can have a bigger family come or two families come and stay together.
The idea that separates this from Forsyth County, our property in Forsyth County, is that this is going to be a more upscale resort, like an upscale campground. This is one of our local, like this is what we have in Forsyth County. This is one of our tents, and with the new items or the new structures that we'll be able to add in Henry County, we really believe that we'll be able to appeal to everybody, like both people that come to Lake Lanier, and they're going to want to do this as well. So
yeah, so we'll have a wide range of smaller tents to larger tents, and so it can accommodate all different family sizes and just all different price ranges as well.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Nathan, Rebecca, thank you. Just real quick, you have a site plan in your packet. We're kind of reworking that site plan a little bit. We've gone out to the site. You'll see we've surveyed the individual trees that are of any significant size. We're positioning the roadway through the site to avoid the larger trees. We want to do as minimal impact to the site as possible, keeping as many trees as there. We want this to really fit the earth and fit the terrain and the vegetation that's there. And I really don't believe that from the Iris Lake, you'll hardly notice this at all. But when you get back there, we want to have that wow factor that wow, this is a really nice place. I'll speak real quick. I know that we got a minute left. The question will come up about the dam and the dam breach analysis. The dam is something that is worth looking at. It will get looked at. In fact, we have been talking to the engineer who engineered the Iris Lake dam repair back in 1994 during that flood. And that same engineer has those hydrology records, and we'll be using them to come in and evaluate the dam here on the north end of this lake to make sure that dam breach is properly analyzed and that we're not anywhere near being in that dam breach zone. So that'll certainly be one of the engineering items that'll be getting looked at and submitted to the county. And after that, I'll just open it up to any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Does the board have any questions for
If I get myself unmuted here. Yeah, I do. I guess, how many sites would you start off with initially? You've got a plan for a whole bunch there, but what's kind of your start point?
Currently, our overall plan shows approximately 50 units. We're on septic, so the limiting factor is really not the space of the land, but it's what is the available acceptable soils for septic tanks. We are generally putting about 4 units per septic tank, so it's really kind of looked at as residential homes and in the same type septic design. We've already been in a lot of communication with the Henry County Health Department and working with them with regards to the septic tank designs. So we don't really know, once we get into the next phase and overall looking at the soil studies, how many septic areas are available to accommodate these units. We're hoping there's at least 50. I'm not very optimistic there'll be much more than that. If we happen to be able to accommodate 60, then great, but it could be that we're somewhere less than that 40, 50 mark. But as of right now, we really don't know. So I can confidently say we're somewhere between 40 and 60.
Okay. Is there staff available 24 hours a day at the site?
Yes, sir. That is the plan, is to have staff available 24 hours a day for safety reasons. That's what we have in Forsyth County, and we want to maintain that.
With the current properties there, are you used to a 50-unit property? Or most of them bigger or smaller?
Yeah, most of it, they're smaller, and they're smaller, and we're ready to ramp up. We are prepared for this. We have partners in the America, like we're actually one of the founding members of on the founding board of the American Glamping Association, and we have the president and CEO of the American Glamping Association as a partner of ours. They're ready to, as soon as we get go from Henry County, we're ready to bring in the like a full-time staff and staff up accordingly. Yes, sir.
Okay. That's my questions for the applicant at this time.
Okay. Any additional questions for the applicant? Does any board members have, any board members have questions for the applicant?
I do. As I recall, when this case first came to us last year, there were, the camping sites were actually tree houses, and there was a zip line, correct? I'm just wondering what happened to that concept, why the change?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So when that concept was developed and the treehouse concept was being thought about and sort of presented, Nathan and Rebecca or Georgia Glamping was not in the picture at that time. And when they sort of visioned these tree houses, they wanted those around the site in different areas, but they had to find someone to build those and have the develop the plans for them. So that's really how they came across Nathan and Rebecca in seeking out someone that can do the tree houses. But Nathan and Rebecca don't really do tree houses. It's more of the glamping tents and cabins that you see. So the whole idea of the tree houses is really kind of out the window, because that's just not what Nathan and Rebecca does.
And the zip line, I think, was supposed to go over the lake, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
They were going to send Mr. Risher out, I think, to test one of the lines when you guys got the.
I don't
As I
think
recall. All right, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Well, to that question now, is the zip line out of the question, or is that still on the table?
The zip line is out of the question.
Oh, okay. So it's just the glamping.
That's correct.
As I recall, there were a lot of safety concerns about that.
Yes, and they were, and in fact, I don't want to go back and rehash all that, but they had a special group that was going to come in and operate the zip lines, but they really abandoned that whole plan. It was, trying to vision what to do with this property. This is a beautiful piece of property, and it sits right in the middle of Henry County. So we don't want to just go put houses backing up to Iris Lake. That quite honestly, that might be the most profitable thing to do, but. And as a resident locally living down the road, I think Nathan and Rebecca's vision and what they were bringing to the table here, in my opinion, is a great idea. I think, after looking at what they've been doing in the Lake Lanier area and looking at the products and just talking to the community, I think there's a lot of excitement and anticipation in this coming live and being able to be part of it. And for example, my wife is like, oh, I can't wait till they get that thing open. We're gonna get the most expensive tent out there and enjoy it for a night or two. So, okay. But I think it'll be a great thing for the community.
All right. Any additional questions for the applicant? Okay. If not, at this point, we'd like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition.
And Mr. Chair, while we're waiting, we had no one to register to speak in opposition.
Okay. All right. Well, do we need to give it any time at all?
If no one is coming forward, Mr. Chair, I think that you can determine that the public hearing is closed.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Does the board have additional questions for the applicant at this point? If not, we'd like to go ahead and call the case.
MC 2003, Iris Lake Henry, 888 LLC of Peachtree Corners, Georgia, requests a modification to zoning conditions for property located at 1209 Iris Lake Road in land lots 233, 234, and 247 of the 7th District, consisting of 141.483 plus or minus acres. The request is to allow additional uses in District 1.
Okay, we've heard the case. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Motion to deny the request to rescind the outdoor amusement conditional use, but approve modifications 13A through F as presented by the planning staff.
Okay.
Second, Peterson.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
1, 2. I don't see Ms. King. We have a unanimous decision in favor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, this meeting is now adjourned. Continue to be safe. Take care.
Thanks, Delander.